Let's solve for ED. ED we labeled as Y. So let's erase what was there and we'll go back and do ED. ED was Y. Now remember, I did a big triangle over the small triangle, so Y will go on the bottom this time. And what does ED correspond to? ED corresponds, triangle DCE. ED corresponds to AE. So how long was AE? AE was 17 over 2. Again, cross multiply. 4y equals 5 over 2 times 17 over 2. So 4y equals 5 times 7 is 35, carry the 3, 5 times 1 is 5, plus that 3 is 85 over 4. Can you reduce that? Nope. So y multiplied by the reciprocal, property of reciprocals, y equals 85 over 16. So ED was y is 85 over 16. Now let's find BC. BC would be equal to BE plus EC. BC equals BE was 15 over 2. BE was 15 over 2. That was given. Plus EC was 75 over 16. Get a common denominator. Be 16, not 8. Two times 8 is 16, so if I multiply the bottom by 8, I multiply the top by 8. 8 times 15 would be 90. 16 times 1 is 16, so I multiply the top by 1, I get 75. BC equals 90 plus 75, 165 over 16. Are there any common factors so you can reduce? No, there aren't. So your answer would be 165 over 16. All right, let's do a couple of proofs. BC is a common tangent. AB equals 4. Now again, all the angle measures are there, but this asks us to prove that EAB is congruent to EDC. Now, there's several ways we could do this. We could set up proportions and use the property of similar triangles, but I don't think I need to use all this, so I'm not even going to bother with these. Let's look at what BC means if it's a common tangent. That means B is a point of tangency. So that's a right angle. C would be a point of tangency, so that'll be a right angle. I know right angles are congruent. And then what else do I know? Well, let's think back to the earlier problem. The earlier problem, I'll realize that these angles AEB and CED were vertical angles, so they're congruent. So I can find angle-angle similarity. Once I use that, I can say all the angles are congruent. The corresponding angles are congruent. And EAB, I got to prove EAB would be congruent to EDC. So those are the two angles I got to show congruent. So let's show this. Remember, in a proof, we got to state the given first. BC is a common tangent. Given. If BC is a common tangent, BC is a common tangent, we know that B and C are points of tangency. Why? That's the definition of being a tangent. You touch at one point, that's where they're touching. All right. What does that mean if we have points of tangency? Well, AB is a radius, and CD is a radius. So let's label those as radiuses. AB and CD are radii. That's the plural of radius. And that's from diagram. That was given in the diagram. Remember, information given in the diagram is almost the same thing as given. 4. What do we know about radiuses where they meet tangents? We know that they form right angles. So we know angle ABD and DCE are right. And that's our property of tangents that says a radius and a tangent are perpendicular. All right, next step. What do we know about all right angles? That they're congruent. So ABD is congruent to angle DCE. Why? All right angles are congruent. Next, we're going to do our vertical angles. So first, let's say what the vertical angles are. Angle AEB and C or DEC are vertical. That's the definition of vertical angles. What do we know about vertical angles? That they are congruent. So angle AEB is congruent to angle DEC. That's the vertical angle theorem. We shorten that down to VAT. Looks like we're going to go a little bit long on this proof. So next, let's say that the two triangles are congruent. So triangle AEB is similar to, not congruent, excuse me, triangle DEC by the angle-angle similarity. And what do we know about all similar triangles? That all their angles are congruent. So we now know that, last statement, therefore, angle EAB is congruent to angle EDC. Why is that? That comes from the properties of similar triangles. And we're done with that proof. This video is getting a little bit long to post, so I'm going to work the other one and other proof and set it up as a different video later. You're going to be getting some assignments that are going to be very similar to these problems. If you need any help, don't be afraid to ask.